If you work outdoors a lot, you'll often end up with dry, cracked, peeling, painful skin. Solution? A decent hand cream. The trouble is, a decent hand cream can be very expensive. It can contain ingredients that are not good for the environment, and not all of them work. Well, today I'm going to show you how to make your own that is very reasonably priced, very effective, and doesn't contain any of that stuff that's bad for the environment. Hello, welcome to English Country Life. Welcome to the workshop on a blustery, windy day, so apologise for any of the creaks and groans you may hear of the old building. Welcome to making skin cream. Now, I'm a Devon boy, which means I grew up in the southwest of England, and it's a big farming, fishing, outdoor community. And when I was young, I did some casual work on demolitions. A lot of the guys I worked with, they were working outdoors in all weathers with concrete and soil and rough materials, constantly getting wet. And the skin on their hands was cracked open, blistered and raw. And one night we were in the pub and I met an old fisherman. And he said to me, "You don't want to have your skin like that, boy." And he gave me a tub of cream that he used. And when you put it on your hands, all of a sudden that rough, dry, broken skin just healed up. So I learned not to be such a macho young fool about it. And if you're working and your skin's getting really badly damaged, don't be frightened to use something that will soften it up, put some natural oils back into it. Now, you may have seen some of our other videos on making things like furniture polish, shoe polish, saddle soap, and a lot more besides. Well, the techniques we're going to use today are the same. We are going to introduce some new oils and some new fats that are particularly good at softening up hard, rough skin. But the technique is just the same. I'm going to show you the trick to our working person's hand cream. And this really is the one for if you want a simple hand cream, 4 ingredients. That's all there is to it. That is amazingly effective. This is the secret. This is lanolin. And lanolin is the fat or the grease that comes from unrefined sheep's wool. It is the natural oil that you find in sheep's wool that makes that wool waterproof. It's why your sheep don't shrink in the rain, if you like. If you wear a beautiful shirt like this, or if you wear a nice business suit, you don't want the wool greasy, so the lanolin is removed. So it's a byproduct, but it's a wonderful byproduct. You talk to any shepherd, you talk to anybody who takes wool from raw fleece to yarn and works with it carding and spinning and so forth, they will tell you that lanolin makes your skin incredibly soft. So what we have to do is get this into a usable format that is easily absorbed by the skin, soft enough to apply, and that's it. That will really soften your skin. So we're going to combine it with some sweet almond oil, which is a light oil. Again, natural product made from a nut. If you haven't got any, olive oil will work absolutely fine. A light rapeseed oil would work absolutely fine. And just to add a little bit of thickness, some pelleted beeswax. I've shown this in a lot of our other products, from shoe polish to furniture polish. It's a brilliant formulation. If you refine your own beeswax, as I used to when we kept bees, just grate some. It works just as well. And if you want it to smell nice, a few drops of essential oil. That's it. Basically, you're using the lanolin as the active ingredient. The beeswax and the oils are there to make it into a usable format, and a bit of essential oil to make it smell nice. If you don't know the difference, by the way, the only difference between a fat and an oil is that a fat is solid at room temperature and an oil is liquid at room temperature. But people often use the terms slightly inaccurately because the term fat doesn't always sound nice. But for our purposes, if it's solid, it's a fat. If it's liquid, it's an oil. I have explained this piece of equipment before, but I'm going to do it again because you may not have watched our earlier videos. This is a double boiler. It's a pan full of boiling water with another vessel above it that we can melt fats and oils together in. That prevents them getting so hot that they can catch fire. It's a safety measure. What I will say is, if you haven't got one, don't waste a lot of money on going out buying a fancy one. A glass bowl over your ordinary domestic saucepan works really, really well. This then is our recipe. First we start with 250 ml or 1 cup of sweet almond oil. To that we're going to add 1 tablespoon 15 ml of grated or pelleted beeswax and 1 tablespoon or 15 ml of our lanolin. It's a rough quantity. As you can see, it's almost a grease lanolin. It's a thick, heavy fat, and that, whilst working with that on your skin, would give you the softening characteristics, it wouldn't be very pleasant to feel. As you can see, if you just leave that for only a minute or two, it very quickly starts to dissolve, and within 3 or 4 minutes you've got a single mixed product. That's now dissolved. Now I do like to give these things a little bit of a scent. Now I'm a bloke, so I'm not going to go for anything too flowery in this. What I'm actually going to use is a nutmeg, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drops of nutmeg essential oil, and about the same of clove. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 roughly. We'll give that a stir. I put these in at the end because if you heat them too much you drive off the smell, so you really only want to add them just as you're letting your cream cool. So turn off the heat. We'll let that cool just a little bit. A lot of the time I use these aluminium screw top tins for polishes and creams, etc. I think they're a great little thing. You can buy them empty and reuse them. That's the point. But again, you don't need them. Something like this, a hand cream, which I will keep by the kitchen sink. This is an old jam container that I thought looked really rather pleasant. And I can just pour the cream into that, let it cool, and I'll pour a little bit into a smaller vessel just for gifts and giveaways. Lanolin is what I would consider to be used for an intensive care hand cream for roughened working hands, etc. Maybe people in your life who just want a bit of preventative maintenance on their skin, and for that I really like to use this. This is shea butter, so called, and shea butter comes from a nut, the shea nut. It's a sort of crumbly light butter. It almost melts onto your fingers as soon as you touch it, so it has a very low melting point. If you think of it as the look of Wensleydale cheese, that's roughly what I think of it as. And people are often surprised when I say to them that nuts contain vast amounts of oils. And I'll show you a little trick in a minute to demonstrate that. But the next hand cream we're going to do, which is a gentle, soft hand cream, is a combination shea butter, almond oil again, some beeswax again, and some essential oil to make it smell nice. That's a burning Brazil nut. It burns brightly because it has more oil in it per pound than red meat, than beef does. There's a huge amount of oil in nuts, so shea butter, which is really a fat, comes from the shea nut. So for our everyday hand cream, we start off with 60 millilitres of sweet almond oil. And to the 60 millilitres of sweet almond oil, we will add 120 millilitres of shea butter. Into our almond oil and shea butter, I'm going to add 30 millilitres, that's 2 tablespoons, pelleted beeswax. A little bit of a stir, it's fully melted. We can turn off the heat and add whichever forms of scent we like. I'm going to use citrus oils, so this is a lemon essential oil. Six to 7 drops of that. I like this a little stronger because I find the citrus oils can get lost. And this, a sweet orange, which is even more subtle. So I will add probably 10 drops of sweet orange as well. I'm going to use some of these larger aluminium tins to store the everyday hand cream in. I'm going to show one more formulation, and I'm sure you'll have had enough by then, but what I want to explain is that there are different types of skin creams for different things that are going on in your life. So we've shown the lanolin one, and if you are fishing, gardening, building regularly, your hands are really dried out, that's the one to use. The shea butter is a lighter formulation, and if it's for everyday use and your hands aren't being put through the mill, that's a better approach probably for you. This one is a different oil again. This is coconut oil. Obviously, it's a fat, which we now know because it's solid at room temperature, but coconut fat doesn't sound all that great. This, I think, is very useful if you suffer from naturally dry skin. It liquefies just above room temperature, so if you rub your fingers over it, it turns literally to an oil. I wouldn't use it on its own necessarily, but combined with a shea butter, I find for dry skin, that's a great oil to use. And I'm going to put it with some almond oil and also some jojoba oil. And jojoba oil, again, has just like a slightly nutritious effect on skin that is naturally dry. So this is a different approach. This is not skin that's been dried out by the environment. This is skin that is naturally light in body oils. So we're going to make this formulation just to keep that sort of skin soft and supple. This then is our dry skin recipe. I'm not going to use almond oil as our oil base this time. I'm going to use jojoba oil. A couple of reasons. I think jojoba oil again is slightly better on dry skin than almond oil, and it has a slightly lower setting point, which means it adheres to the skin just a little bit better. So we put 60 ml of jojoba oil. If you haven't got it, almond oil or olive oil, absolutely fine. Then we're going to add 2 tablespoons, 30 ml of coconut oil. And to our 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, I'm just going to put in 1 tablespoon, 15 ml of shea butter. Once all the fats and oils have melted together, we will put in our essential oil. I'm using rose, which is quite an expensive one on this time, but I like this preparation, as I say, for both for skin that's naturally dry. It also makes, if you want it to, an excellent face cream. So something a bit lighter and a bit more floral, I think suits the preparation. Well, I messed up that recipe. I missed out one of the ingredients. I could have just reshot it, but instead, I want to show you how getting one of these things wrong isn't the end of the world. It's easily fixed, but also to show you the effect that some of the ingredients have on the recipes. Because when you know that, if you're not happy with the consistency of your cream, it's easy to fix it. That's easy enough to see what's wrong with that. It hasn't set. The reason it hasn't set is I left out beeswax from the recipe, and beeswax, when mixed with the oils and fats, is what turns them into a solid cream instead of a liquid oil. How do we fix it? Well, that's easy. We put it back in the boiler, we add the beeswax, we melt them together, put them back into the tins. But what it shows you is the effect that the beeswax is having. So if you find one of these recipes is softer than you want, add a little more beeswax. If you find that it's harder than you want, cut down the beeswax. And that way you can get this to the exact consistency that you want. All the beeswax is doing is acting as a setting agent. So to the recipe we showed before, we will add 2 tablespoons, 30 millilitres of beeswax. This is the everyday hand cream, but I'm just using it as an example. You can see that this has quite a hard consistency. Now, the intensive care one is a much softer because you're almost trying to re-oil your hands. If you want it firmer, just add more beeswax. What I'm trying to show you is that shea butter just melts under the touch and rubs in, and when your hands are a bit dry, a bit beaten up, as mine are sadly most of the time, it really does soften up all that hard dry skin and soaks in beautifully. Well, that is 3 kinds of hand cream recipe, and I hope that I've managed to explain what the different fats and oils and waxes do in these creams so that you can combine them in the way that suits you best, and of course with your own choice of smell as well. If these videos are interesting to you, can you spare us 5 seconds? Give us a thumbs up down below. I'd really like to hear your opinion on the making videos. Do you want more of them? Or do you want more gardening? Do you want more vlogs? Please let us know, because it really does help us to know what you enjoy on the channel. And if you want to see more of something, please hit subscribe and the bell next to it, and you'll hear every time we upload a new video. But whatever you do, come back and see us soon. Take care.